Hi, my name is Cheryl Vercammen, and I'm the mayor of Marine City, and this is part of our Local Government Today series. I do a monthly show called The Mayor Minute, and today I am happy to be having a discussion today with our police chief, Jim Heaslip, who runs our fine municipal police department in Marine City. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
Thank you for coming. Can you give me, just for those people that have like me, that have no clue, how long have you, can you give me a little background about yourself? How long have you been an officer, and then did you work up to chief?
I have been a police officer, graduated the academy in 1996, so I'm kind of dating myself a little bit. So came to Marine City in 2000. Worked just a patrolman through the ranks till about 2011, promoted to sergeant. 2013 promoted to detective sergeant. Shortly thereafter promoted to a lieutenant, and then in 2015 I was appointed the interim chief. Ultimately applied for the full-time chief job through an interview process. Then I was awarded, and here I am today sitting as your chief.
Who does the interview process for a municipal police chief?
Our city manager was there. She kind of took a back seat to it, just kind of as an observer. Mm-hmm. There were 3 local chiefs on board. The Port Huron chief was there, Mike Reeves, who has since retired, Tom Koenig, who is the current Marysville Public Safety Director, and then Mike Coach, who is the Clay Township Police Chief.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a good time. It was something that was new to me. I've sat through interviews in the past, but to get to that level of my career, actually, was I ready for that? Is that something I truly wanted? I didn't know until I took that step, and I think there were 5 of us that interviewed. The other 4 guys, I didn't know who they were. I think they were all from out of state. Oh. Ultimately, I got the phone call from the city manager and said, "Congratulations, you got it if you want it." So
wow.
Contemplated for a little while with my family and my wife, and here I am today.
Rolling in the bucks.
No regrets. No regrets.
Well, great. So I think that, I'm going to do like some general questions, right, that I think that maybe people in TV land want to know. Do we live in a safe community in Marine City?
I'm going to take it back to my childhood days, because I'm born and raised in Marine City, went to Marine City High School. And for those of you that are familiar with my age group, be 48 here in May, we used to do laps around town, and cars used to be all over the place. And I don't know what the crime rates were back then. I don't know if it was safe. I was a kid, I didn't really care. But now, we've become a tourist visitor type of community, and I think we're a very safe community. We've got a great police department, got a great group of guys that work for us, and they do a good job, and we keep our crime rates down. It's a very safe community, and I'm happy to be the chief for it. Yeah, very safe.
Yeah, good, because that's the impression that people get. Obviously I see a lot of people all the time because I own a restaurant, and then I also have my Airbnb that people come in from all different areas to visit Marine City. And one of the things that they say, like in their reviews, of Marine City is, loved walking the town, felt very safe, and they talk about lighting.
Right.
People are noticing that we are lit up now because we've got all those new Edison lights, right?
Yep.
I noticed that in front of my building. At first, I thought I left some outside lights on. I'm not kidding. I walk around the front of my building. I'm like, why is it so bright out here? And it was because I have a brand new street light in front.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
And it's also a deterrent as well. When places are lit up, you don't have those dark alleys or dark corners where crime could occur. Those lights in town are a tremendous asset to preventing some of those crimes from happening.
Yeah. And and I've said this all the time that lighting truly is the cheapest and one of the most effective deterrents for crime.
Yes.
If everybody left their back light on in their back by the back door or their side door or whatever, that's just it's a cheap good thing to do.
Yep.
So, not that I want to add, I mean, I have a question about our crime rate. I mean, I don't really need to know specifics or anything like that, but, you know, do we have a crime rate in Marine City, and maybe what types of crimes occur in Marine City?
You know, so I've done a lot of research on this, and you know, every year we have to report to the state, and the state reports it to the FBI of our crime statistics. And there's a formula out there on how you determine your crime rate, and all the research that we've done, the numbers that we put together, we are actually below average of cities that are in comparable size to us. For example, you know, if we want to talk about violent crime, which includes murder, rapes, aggravated assaults, and robberies, in 2020 we had 9 of those cases. So the formula computes it. You know, you have to add that in with a property crime, which includes, you know, burglaries, larcenies, retail frauds, and thefts. So you add those together, we had 42 in 2020. 42 of those cases from January 1st to December 31st. You put it into the formula, and we have a 10.44% crime rate, which is significantly below average for the nation in cities comparable to our size.
So when you say size, is it based on population?
Population.
So it has nothing to do with footage?
It has nothing to do with square mileage.
Square mileage.
It's all about population.
Yeah.
And I used our 2020 numbers, which was 4,022 for population. So for 10.44 crime rate for our community, we're below average, and like I said, we do a pretty good job.
That's pretty good.
As a city in whole, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
So, so what types of crimes occur in Marine City
So,
that you can speak about?
well, I'll give you, so the numbers I pulled, you know, I pulled our top 3 ones, and of course, in every municipality out there, with all the police departments, sheriff department, state police, the domestic violence is going to be your big one. And our big one was, you know, we call it non-aggravated assaults, which is kind of lumped in with domestic violence, and that was our number one call that we went to throughout the year.
That's a difficult call too.
It's very difficult. You know, you're trying to side with the people because we don't know what's led up to the situation. There's always backstories behind the backstory, and we're there to try to diffuse the situations. So out of most of the domestic violence calls that we go to, a lot of them we classify as a family trouble because there's been no assault, there's been no threat, there's no physical violence. So we just try to keep the parties separated. But those situations are both tough for not only the people involved, but for officers as well, because in a split second, somebody could turn and then hate us right away, and it's just bad. It's a bad situation for everybody. Our number 2 is a larceny call. You know, retail frauds. Somebody leaves something out on their lawn. Bad guy drives by and sees something. Oh, hey, I really want that. It's nighttime. They go and steal it. So, so we'll get to that on kind of a preventative type of conversation. But that was our number 2 complaint with the larcenies, and then our biggest one is fraud. You know, there's a lot of research out there, and fraud is like a scam. Somebody calls and said, "Hey, your grandson is in jail, and if you give us $5,000 in these gift cards, we'll release your grandson." And people fall for that. And you know, I get it. You know, people get scared with those type of phone calls, but
because they sound so real.
They do,
you know,
and they're so pushy too. You know, we get them.
They're the master manipulators.
We get the calls all the time in the police department. We try having some fun with them, and you know, we keep them on the phone for 10 to 15 minutes as long as we can, and then we tell them at the end of the conversation, "Hey, you called the police department. We just wasted 10 to 15 minutes of your time preventing you from maybe hitting somebody else." You know. And if you do get these scam calls, you know, there are websites out there where you can report these phone numbers. And I really do appreciate, because people call into us and give us these phone numbers, and then in turn we can report them. But as long as you're not out anything, it's technically not a crime. You've did the right thing. You've stepped up and you told these people off, or you hung up on them, whatever you've done, not to give them any of your personal information. And by all means, don't ever send any money through a gift card for somebody you don't know. Nobody is going to call you asking for a gift card to bail somebody out of jail,
Right.
or the Social Security Administration wants your Social Security number. Nobody's going to call you and
IRS,
ask you,
yeah.
IRS.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to call you for any of that.
Right.
If it's truly, they're going to correspond to you via a registered letter or something in the mail. So
Yeah.
don't ever
Yeah.
fall for that.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because I think a couple of mere minutes ago, I talked about scams.
Yeah.
You know, because one of my close friends, her father passed away, and almost within days, literally, her mother started getting the phone calls.
Oh.
And it was, you know, we're very sorry. We hear your husband passed away. Well, they saw the obituary.
Yep.
I mean, like, hello, and it was the IRS or it was a life insurance company. I mean, these calls sounded legit to the point where the family literally wrote like instructions and put them by her phone. You know, Mom, never give Social Security information. Mom,
Right.
never give bank information.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know, unfortunately, some of our older generation, you know, we're kind. You know, we don't like to hang up on people. We think it's rude, and you know, some of these guys they're master manipulators,
Yep.
man. They get on the phone and.
But it is okay to hang up on people.
It is okay to
Yep,
hang up on people.
It is okay.
And it
Yes.
is okay, too, to let your answering machine filter your calls.
Yes, and I know a lot of these cell phones now. Like I'll get these phone calls, and my cell phone will actually say "scam likely" right on them, and just decline the phone call.
Yeah.
You know, don't talk to them. Or if you want to have some fun with some people, talk to them on the phone and keep them going as long as you can. But don't ever give any personal information or gift cards for any means. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, somebody had called me, and it said DTE on it.
Yeah. Well, we had actually within it was either yesterday or Monday, we had a plethora of phone calls saying, "Hey, we're calling you back. We missed one of your phone calls." There was like 6 people that called us and said, "We missed your phone call." Nope, sorry, it wasn't from us, because they call it spoofing, where they can spoof our number and call all these people and make it look like the Marine City Police Department is calling, but there's not a police department that I know of that is going to call and ask you for money for a gift card for this, that, and the next. Don't fall for it.
Yeah.
Yep. If we want you, we want to talk to you, we'll call you ourselves. Call us back if you get that number. We'll talk to you and say it's probably a scam. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very sad to me that there are, you know, people out there that they prey upon the elderly, they prey upon the weak and the vulnerable. But that's, you know.
Yep, and that's another thing. You know, we can educate people only so much, but we also rely on family members of their, you know, the younger family members for their older parents to educate them and help them along, like putting a note in front of their phone. Yeah. You know, that's awesome. We can sit here and laugh about it.
No,
but
true.
it's great. You have to help us help them by put that list down or tell them don't ever send money like that. Don't ever. I think you know the biggest case I think we've had was about $16,000 somebody lost because they send gift cards, and it's almost virtually impossible to trace all that.
Right.
So it was a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we felt bad for them.
And you know, and these scammers too. I mean, they can very easily get personal information. I mean, social media, man. They know who your family members are. You know, they see pictures and that kind of stuff. And so if they say, hey, you know, we're holding your grandson Joey. Well, the only reason why they know you have a grandson Joey is because they saw it on social media.
Yep.
You know. Yep. And so right away you're like, oh my gosh. Yep. You know, you start to panic a little bit.
My poor Joey.
My poor Joey.
Yep.
Little Joey. All right. What types of recommendations can you make to our citizens to minimize any incidents happening to them personally or to their property?
You know, with this list of things that you had sent me that we could talk about today, you know, they're all going to come hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing that we try to tell people is trust your instincts. It's all about your gut feeling. If you're in an uncomfortable situation and the hairs on the back of your neck are standing up, and if you don't feel comfortable in the situation, get out of the situation.
Yeah.
Try to leave. And I understand there are some situations where people are afraid to leave, but you know, I brought a packet today, you know, going back to our domestic violence is our number one, you know, issue in town. there are places for people to go to for help and guidance. And, come to the police department. It's through Blue Water Safe Horizons. They provide all kinds of valuable resources to these people. But to back up, it all starts with, I'm in an uncomfortable situation. How do I get out of it? If you don't know how to get out of it, by all means, call us and ask us, and we will guide you in the right direction. It may not be criminal, but that's not what we're all about as a police department. We don't just enforce crime. We're there as a community-oriented police. They call it COP, and we're for the citizens. We're working with the citizens to help them out. It doesn't have to be criminal. We can't really give legal advice on things, but we can try to guide people in the right direction. If you need help, by all means, call us and we'll get you through it the best we can.
Yeah. Usually on a badge, right? Serve and protect.
Exactly. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, you had mentioned gut, listening to your gut. And a long time ago, I did some crime prevention stuff. And the 3 A's of crime prevention are being aware of, your surroundings.
Yep.
And I tell this to kids, I tell this to teens, I tell this to my friends, that are shopping at night. And, you should always be aware of your surroundings. I used to do like a 25-foot circle around me. Yep. And I always knew what was happening inside my circle. Yep. Especially, if you're grocery shopping at night or doing whatever, you're kind of distracted. You're putting things in cars if you've got kids, But one of the things that I used to always do is my purse and my children went in the car first, and then I would do the groceries. I never left things out in the carts and that kind of stuff. But I always knew. I always took the time to look around and made sure I was aware. And if you see anything weird, like focus in on it. And there's nothing that says your car, your home, those are your safe havens, to go back to. But getting back to that gut instinct, you have to pay attention to your gut.
Have to.
Because that really truly is, that's the fight or flight. That truly is your first sign that something is amiss. And if you pay attention to that and then, take measures to get out of that situation, whether it be to, go to a building that's occupied or a gas station or, whatever, those are the ways that you can hopefully, stay safe on the streets. And
yep. My other advice to that is, I like the aware, the alert, the avoid, but if you can, partner up with a friend, because people are less apt to be a victim if they're with somebody else.
Right.
A friend, a husband, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a wife, whatever. Be with somebody else. So people will see you and say, hey, they're not by themselves. We'll move on. But again, going back, trust your gut and be aware of your surroundings. And maybe this is my personality as a cop, but always have a secondary way out. If I'm going to cash register number 1, or if I'm going to my car and I see something funny, find a different route. Find a secondary avenue to get to. We call it like an escape route. When we go to calls, there was a horrific video that I saw of an officer-involved shooting. There's a half a dozen cops. They're checking the well-being of a guy who's suicidal, and he comes to the door, and he just starts shooting. Well, the one officer or deputy, whoever it was, had put themselves up against the brick wall and had nowhere to go. And I mean, that to me it's a training issue, and always have an escape route. Don't put yourself where you have only one way to go. Get a secondary route, just in case that gut feeling goes off or the hairs start tingling in the back of your neck. Find a different way.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And stop being in a hurry doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Slow down.
Slow down.
Yep.
One of the shows that I was watching the last couple of months was, what was it called? It was like a true crime. I can't think of the name of it. Each episode was 3 true stories told by the victims. I think it was called I Shouldn't Be Alive or something along those lines. And so each 1-hour segment was 3 different victims talking about just all kinds of weird stuff. A guy got caught in a snowstorm, and he was literally stuck in his car for like a week, you know, and how he got out of it. But the ones that always intrigued me were the true crime ones, right?
Yep.
Where, you know, two girls are, you know, driving down the road, coming back from something. There's a guy needing help. They pick him up. So now he's in the car, you know, and things occur, and you know, and when I watch shows like that, I always think, you know, what would I do if something like that happened to me, you know, or my grandchildren or my kids, you know, what can you say to them to, you know, well, obviously you're always telling people, you know, not to pick up people on the side of the road, you know. One of the things that I used to always teach, you know, my kids was, if you are in a situation where someone tries to take you into another location, right? There's like an abduction, you know, and they have a gun. I said, what would you rather do? Would you rather take your chances of being shot in a public area, or do you want that person to take you to a private area where no one can help you?
Right.
You know, and it's easier said than done, you know, because I've never been a victim of a serious crime like that. But, you know, we have to drum this into our heads that, you know, if somebody has a gun on you or a knife on you, but you are in a public area, if you let them take you, you have no help.
Right.
You can, I say this all the time to my grandkids, so you cannot ever let anyone take you.
Right.
You know, well, Grandma, what should we do? I'm like, stick your finger down your throat and throw up, feign an epileptic seizure, you know, scream and yell for, I mean, do whatever you can do.
Yep.
Run, you know, just get out of that situation.
I love that advice, but what I'll add to that is, I'm gonna bring the fire department into this, because more people like firemen than they do cops. That's, I mean, that's just a fact of life. And I can say that because my brother's a fireman, so. If a situation does like that happen, scream fire.
Yeah.
Because people will look when you scream fire. If you're just regularly screaming,
Help.
most of the time people will mind their own business and move along. But if you scream fire, everybody will look at you. It's weird how that works. Not sure why that works, but they will look at the word or look for the area where that word fire came from. Yeah, and just keep screaming that.
And you know what's really something too that there's been such a shift in our communities getting involved. You know, I grew up in Detroit. My dad was a Detroit cop.
Right.
I mean, that's all we had in our neighborhood was cops and firemen.
Yeah.
You know, but we didn't need the cops and the firemen because we had Mrs. Bottini, we had Mrs. Workman, we had Mrs. Carr. You know, and I am so not kidding you. I cannot tell you how many times, you know, Mrs. Bottini would be sitting, you know, in her garden or something like that, and you know, she'd look around and she would, you know, yell at one of my brothers or sisters or something like that, or you know, see somebody down the street doing something stupid, and the first thing, I'm calling your parents, I'm going to tell your parents, and you were more scared of Mrs. Bottini than anybody else, you know. But nowadays, I don't know, why is it that we kind of turn a blind eye and we don't want to get involved? I still yell at kids.
Yeah.
You know, the other day I was driving over the Laboon Bridge, you know, and there was a kid on the outside of the handrail talking to his friends. I stopped and I just rolled down my window. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
I said, you fall in that river right now. Number one, there's no ladders up right now.
Yep.
Number two, the river's freaking cold.
Right.
You know, you aren't, you know, come on. Use your brain. Get on the other side.
Right.
Okay, you know.
I don't know. I mean, I wish I had an answer to that. I don't know where we've gone wrong as a society where people are like that. I just don't have. You know, I try to find research on certain things when I'm, you know, kind of clueless on items. I'm like, hey, let's go get a book and learn from it. I haven't found a book that explains any of that yet. So if somebody can find one and bring it to me, I'd greatly appreciate it.
We need more Mrs. Bottinis of the world.
Yes, we do.
We truly do.
Yes,
we need to get involved. We
Yep.
need to, you know, say something to kids if we see them doing something wrong or whatever, because they always say it takes a village to, you know, it takes a village for everything, including, you know, being safe and secure. It
Yep.
takes a village.
Yep.
You know.
I agreed. And you know, and I don't know if it's the fact that people are afraid to be sued now, or you know, let's just say you stop and talk to that kid and he takes it that you yelled at him. Now our parents are going to call us about you. I mean, say something. You don't have to be mean about it, but just
Right.
it's more of an education. Hey kid, I don't know if you know that, but the
Right.
ladders aren't up.
Yeah.
The river's ice
It's
cold.
cold.
Yeah, let's be smart about this. And he did the right thing and come on the other side. So,
Yeah.
I mean, more people can step up and do that. It's okay.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that we find in our world, and we handle a lot of these complaints, but if you just talk to people and communicate with people, you can get so much further in your situation than you can by ignoring it, let it escalate, and then calling us to resolve your problem, which we're okay with, but communicate. You know, if you've got a neighbor or, you know, you've got a family member, whoever it is, it's all about communication.
Yeah.
If you can't communicate and you need to call us, we'll handle it, but you may get lectured about, why don't you just talk to these people,
Yeah.
you know?
Just talk.
Just talk.
Just talk.
Yep, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Home robberies, car safety, street safety.
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing on all of these is what we find is when we take these reports, hey, you know what, I had $37 in change taken from my car last night and my GPS system and 2 of my golf clubs. Okay, well, where's the damage to your window? How'd they get in? Well, what's the response we get? My car was left unlocked. It's an opportunity crime. Lock your stuff up, bring your stuff in at nighttime. We take some stolen bikes because kids leave them in the front of their house, or just put the stuff away when you're done with it. Lock your cars up, lock your house up. I know I said we live in a safe community, but it's common sense. Let's lock our stuff up. You know, lock your doors, lock your car, pick your stuff up, and it'll all be okay, because people don't want to break a window to get in.
Right.
Because number one, that makes noise, it's going to draw attention to you, and we're going to get called on that. People will walk around and pull on car door handles until they find the open one. Sorry, then you become the victim.
Yep. So what is the best advice you have for children? Do you ever go into to the schools and do safety programs for the kids?
We don't. You know, we do a lot of, you know, I've been a coach over in our high school for 10, 11, 12 years. I've coached football, I've coached golf, currently coaching baseball. I don't know how I got roped into that one. I've done track in the past. So I develop relationship with these kids. Plus, I have a sophomore in high school right now. So I've got a lot of, you know, interest vested in these kids in the high school. We probably do a poor job getting into the Bell River Elementary or the middle school, but because of the COVID times, it's kind of, we're limited in getting over there. I do put up posting in our department to make sure we get to the schools, but it's tough because COVID and, but we don't do any safety programs. We try just if we see kids on the street, we try if they're not wearing a helmet, they're in the street, we try to say, let's stay on the sidewalk, let's put a helmet on. So we don't have anything formal. We got a lot of great guys, you know, with the guys that I do have, each one of them have their own separate personalities. The one guy, I'll give him kudos on camera, Jim Jones, is absolutely phenomenal, where he'll park his car one end of South Water Street and he'll walk and talk to every business owner on South Water Street and talk to everybody along the way, and that's what he loves to do. And so I know along the way he does some education as well. So
That's fantastic.
yes, I absolutely love that.
Walking the beat.
Walking
That's
the
fantastic.
walking the beat. Yep, I know the Midnight Guy, Chris Martinelli. He sits down there quite a bit, and I know people go up to him and he sits down there because we've got a U-turn traffic problem on South Water Street. For those of you that are watching this, there are no U-turns on South Water.
Like the signs say.
Right. Well, I went to pick up, my son works at Popcorn Paradise, and I went to pick him up the other night, and there were 12 of them, U-turns, did right in front of me. Well, I'm in my personal car, and I'm like, so put a memo out to the guys, hey, can we maybe do some little more enforcement on this and get that done? But like I go back to it, nothing specific, it's more of an individual basis, and parents will bring their kids to the department and want us to lecture their kids on how maybe stealing is bad and they stole $1 maybe out of mom's purse and you talk. So, you know, we do those type of programs, individual basis, but nothing formal.
Yeah. You know, I think today, now, especially now more than ever, man, I think we need to get back in the schools. Remember the DARE program?
I do remember the DARE program. Yep,
know?
when I first started here, we actually had a full-time liaison officer over in the school, and he did the DARE program. But I'm going to throw the DARE program under a bus. the stats showed that the DARE program was a huge failure. But I am working towards, I really want to get an officer back into our schools.
Yeah.
You know, between Cardinal Mooney and the high school, it's such a valuable asset where kids can go, you can develop programs in there, you can really get them young, they can then head into the middle school or the elementary school and maybe do a program over there. But a school liaison officer position, school resource officer position is just a great asset to any police department.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, the respect starts young,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And see, it's difficult for me to not understand that because of how I grew up.
Right.
You know, when you have a cop in the house, I mean, and that's all you see is cops coming and going and that kind of stuff. I mean, you just automatically, you know, there's an automatic respect.
Yep, and you know, I'm a first generation police officer in my family. You know, my dad retired from the Detroit Edison, and my mom was, she worked at Kmart, she was a hospice nurse, but they always taught us, you will respect the police. And so, you know, some of that education comes from the home.
Yeah.
You know, to be taught, hey, you know what, let's be respectful to them, and they'll be respectful back. And that's if my guys are out of line in any way, shape, or form to anybody, I hold my guys accountable.
Yeah.
You know, just because, you know,
as everybody should.
As everybody should. Yeah. You know, I'm so passionate about what I do because this is my hometown, and I know everything that happens within the police department has my name and face on it, and I want to make sure that that stays as a good image, and we continue being a good police department.
Yeah.
We're not perfect by any means, but we can always day by day make improvements to get there.
Right.
Will we ever get there? Probably not, but we're trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the thing that I think is most important too is that you cannot lump, you know, a few bad apples into everyone.
Right.
You know, I mean, because I'll tell you this, there are teachers that shouldn't be teachers. There are physicians that shouldn't be practicing medicine.
Right.
There are attorneys that shouldn't be in a court of law.
Yep.
There are cops that shouldn't be cops.
I would agree with that
You know,
100%.
But is it the norm? Hell no. It's so rare. It's so rare.
Yep.
You know. But for the most part, you know, you got the badge, the serve and protect. I mean, there's only so much training that you can go through, you know. And you know, when you risk your life for people, you know, my son's in the service now. You know, he's in the Army, and you know that kind of holds true with anybody that's in the military too. You know, you're here to serve and protect.
Right.
You know, and you know we've got to get back to the respect.
Right.
You know, and not look at the rare incident. You know,
Yep.
and look at it as
always
a whole.
there's always going to be that bad apple, and you know, it's us as chiefs that have to find that bad apple along that hiring process and get him weeded out.
Yeah.
But
sometimes that's difficult.
It's
to
very
do.
difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Sometimes that's difficult to do.
Yep.
So when we were talking about getting into the schools, I think that would be just, gosh, that would be so huge
Yep.
to.
Well,
to
after
do.
just going through the budget process, I don't know if that'll be feasible anytime, unless the school district can come up and fund a portion of it. But I haven't even sat down with, you know, the superintendent to discuss anything. This is something I've always wanted to do because it was very successful when we did have somebody over there. And maybe one day before, you know, I retire in 7, 8 years, whenever, we can get that position back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be some kind of a grant. I a long time ago, I don't know if anybody out there in TV land's going to remember the Nurse Rosie program, and I literally went into the schools with a puppet.
Yeah.
And Nurse Rosie was this cute little female nurse bear, and I taught second graders, and it was a little bit about fire safety, a little bit about street safety, a little bit about health and hygiene. It was just a bunch of little subjects, but it was through a grant. Yeah. And the kids loved it. Right. Oh my gosh, they loved it. Yeah. It was a great program. I did it for 2 years.
Well, there's grant opportunities out there. They call it the Cops Fast Grant. And I keep looking for them to release more grants. The last time we put in for it, I don't want to throw anybody under a bus, but the last grant writer that we had put in for that position for us actually wrote it under the wrong grant.
Oh.
So we weren't awarded it, and but they do present those, and like I said, I'm checking weekly to see if they release it. If they do release it, I will put in for that grant.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a great asset.
Yeah. And it doesn't, you know, it honestly, it can be 10 minutes of classroom.
Yes.
You know.
Yep. 10 minutes of classroom. They can attend the sporting events that are at the schools, just to get out there, give an opportunity for kids that may be hesitant to come into the department to have an office space to go in and maybe confide in the officer about this, that, and the next, and go from there.
Yeah, yeah. How to report suspicious activity. How is our 911 system?
Our 911 system is phenomenal. What people don't realize is that we are a 24-hour police department. We have staff on 24 hours a day. Our day shift is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Midnight guy starts from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So we are staffed 24 hours a day. Now our business office is different. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Anything non-emergency can come into our police department Monday through Friday, and you'll get our office manager. If he's tied up on something, I'll answer the phone, or the officer will answer the phone if he's in. But you can dial 810-765-4040, and you'll get to us Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. If it's after business hours or on a weekend or a holiday, you can call 1-810-985-8115, and that will go right to our central dispatch. Tell them where you live, what the problem is, and they'll send an officer. We are staffed 24 hours a day to respond to those types of calls.
Central dispatch is located where?
Just north of Marysville, Port Huron Township.
Yeah.
That's where our central dispatch is. And our 911 system is, they got a great group of people up there. The director, Tina Bricker, she does a great job of running the place. Great people up there, and it's just a phenomenal system. Yeah. So whether you dial it through your landline or your cell phone, they can track you. They can pretty much find out where you're calling from. If you can't speak because you're in a certain situation, just call 911, leave the phone on, put it in your pocket. We'll track you. We'll find you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great system. Great
Yeah.
people up there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Because the reason why I asked that is because we're close to Canada.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that.
Well, I can't say that's a perfect system. There has been a couple times where some 911 calls have been actually routed over to the OPP over in Lambton, and they've actually transferred people back over to us, and we realize it's not in our jurisdiction, and then we have to forward them to the sheriff department. So it's all depending on what phone service you have and what tower you get at the time. You could bump to Canada, but for the most part, that's a very rare instance.
Yeah. Good. What is the difference between having a municipal police department and the county, or having your area, patrolled by the county or the state?
Thinking about this, there's a couple big things. We just went through a very lengthy budget process, started January, February. And the city manager and the finance director, treasurer, we sat down for several meetings, several emails back and forth, several phone calls back and forth, and just to get us to a certain bottom line number. We wanted to make sure that the budget that was presented to the commissioners, you included, was balanced to the best it can. If not, maybe had some money, into the red. But along that process, they're able to work with me as the chief to cut places or add to certain places or cut a different place or add here to get to that number. When you get rid of your police department and you contract with the sheriff department, you're going to lose that ability. You're going to get a bill, depending on your contract, that's going to increase 3% every year, and you have no control. And at that point, when it gets too big, and you sit there and say, this is probably a bad idea, at that point, it's going to be cheaper to continue to pay that than it is to start your own police department back up again. So that's the number one issue to me, is you lose that ability to negotiate. You're at the whim of whatever their contract says.
Yeah.
You have to buy them a car every 3 years. You're paying for supervision. You're paying for a deputy 24 hours a day, plus on the weekend an extra additional 12, and then next thing you know, next year it's up 3% because their contract pays all them an additional 3%, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. You lose all that negotiating skills. I love all the guys from the sheriff department. But I will fight tooth and nail to keep our police department. Right. I think the citizens, and this is going to come out very bad on my part, and I don't mean it at all like this, but you're better to have your local police department. And I'll add to that is where you might get a sheriff deputy in, is he gonna park on North Water
Right.
and walk the beat like Jim Jones does? You're gonna lose that personal ability. I don't know if they do community-oriented policing. I don't know, I mean, because they're a busy sheriff department and they're understaffed as well, like
Right.
every other municipality is.
Yeah.
We're all understaffed. But are they gonna be able to do that like we do? You're gonna lose that personal ability where people call and ask for, hey, is so-and-so working? No, he's off today, but he'll be back tomorrow, you know, so we'll have him call you. Or they'll walk in, hey, is so-and-so, yep, he's working today. You know, they know our names, they know our faces, and we have that personal ability where we can connect with people. People are more apt to talk to you when they know you, rather than you being a stranger. Hey, who are you? Well, I'm Deputy so-and-so. Well, what are you doing here today? Well, you know, so-and-so called off sick. Well, I don't know you. I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
You know, that it's the nature of the beast. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
So,
And that's also being proactive instead of reactive. I mean,
yes.
you know, like I said, nothing, I'm not saying anything bad about any agency, you
Yes.
know, but when you have your municipal police department and, you know, you're used to seeing, you know, the cop on the street and, you know, this and that, it's proactive.
Yes.
You know, you're not just making the phone call and hoping somebody shows up in 2 minutes.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
So I just was curious about that because, you know, I mean, through budget talks, right, there are a couple of people that, you know, brought up, or didn't really bring up, but, you know, questioned the municipal police department versus being patrolled by sheriff.
And that's been questioned, you know, anytime the guy's going to a contract talk or budget process, it always gets brought up. And it bothers me because like I said, I'm so passionate about being the chief of my hometown, and to lose that, it's not fair to the citizens.
Right.
You're not going to get the same, you'll get the same stuff. Yeah, they have more, they have a detective bureau and they have canines and they have it all. But I would rather have the personal ability with the officers in town than lose all that to go to the sheriff department.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to the citizens. And like I said, I will fight to the day I retire to keep the municipal police department.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you should.
Yeah,
You get what you pay for.
exactly.
You get what you pay for.
Yep.
So what can we do as citizens to support our police department?
You know, there's a lot of good things happen. You know, weekly there's some local churches that bring us, you know, cookies and cards, and during certain holidays or events throughout the year, people bring us, you know, cards and support letters and some food. And not saying that that's what we
Cops
want.
like food.
We do like food. But you know, it's one of those things that if you have any doubt whether or not you should call us. I mean, we'll talk to you. What I want people to realize is that we're human. You know, we're not perfect. We're going to make our mistakes. And if I make a mistake as a chief, I hope that you as the mayor and the rest of the commission and the city manager would hold me accountable for making that mistake. And I'm, you know, I that's how I want my guys to be as well. They're going to make mistakes, and I hold my guys accountable. You know, so continue just doing what they're doing. A lot of times I hear, well, hey, this happened over on this street because I see it on social media, AKA Facebook, and then we do some research, find out it was never reported. So if there are things that are going out there, tell us about it via phone call. You don't have to leave your name if you don't want to. Let us know what's going on so we can be aware of it, so we can take some proactive measures to deal with it. And the biggest thing when I tell people that come in, help us, help you.
Help us help you.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And people can continue doing what they're doing. I know we're not liked by everybody, and I get that. We're not going to make everybody happy. You know, we do write tickets. We do make arrests, and I wouldn't be happy about that either. But we are there to help people as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I so preach community-oriented policing. Get out. You see some kids playing basketball up on North Mary Street at the Life Center. Shoot some hoops with them.
Yeah.
You know, get out and play baseball catch with somebody. Get out and be in the public and see them. Yeah, we write our tickets. We're the bad guys. I get that. We're not a fireman, you know. But just continue doing what they're doing. And I think for the most part, unless I'm blind, you know, we have the majority of support of the citizens in town.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
proud of
think
that.
so, too.
You know,
Yep.
I'm glad, you know, we've got a lot of good officers in town that do the right thing. And you know, when I hire people, one of my things that I tell them is, if you can stand in front of your mom and tell your mom what you did, and if you're uncomfortable with telling your mom that, it's probably not the right thing to do. But if you're proud to tell your mom what you did, probably the right thing to do. My guys, for the most part, will do the right thing and treat people fairly, and we'll all be good.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the safe exchange zone.
Yes.
We kind of talked just briefly about it.
So
There you go.
within this last couple months, I know a lot of updates have been happening through town in regards to cameras and systems. With that, we've had 4 cameras installed on our police department. One on the north side that catches the parking lot, one on the south side that catches where the patrol cars are at and some of Ward Street, and then we have 2 internally in our foyer and you know, monitor our property room. So the one on our north side, I'm happy to announce that we're actually going to use that and implement it to be our safe zone. I'm going to have our DPW Superintendent Mike Intrich put up a sign. We'll attach this sign to it 24 hours a day. It's recorded. If anybody wants to do any type of exchange, e-commerce exchange, child custody exchange, whatever exchange you want to do, and you want it recorded for whatever reason, we will have that spot for them.
So when you say e-commerce, you're talking about maybe somebody that's
Craig-
selling something
Craigslist,
eBay, or
eBay,
you're not really
Facebook,
sure. Right, okay.
What is it?
Marketplace.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, because you don't want anybody coming to your home to get your merchandise that
Yes.
they're buying.
Yeah.
So you can.
If you're uncomfortable with somebody coming to your home to do it, and you want to come to a police department where it's going to be lit and it's going to be recorded,
Yep.
please come and use our facility.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's nice.
Yes. It's again, we used out of the budget community promotion money. Figure we're giving back to the citizens to offer the service to them. Yep. Yep.
That's nice.
Yep.
I know so many private residents and businesses are installing cameras. You know, you got the Ring system on, you know, doorbells,
Yep.
and I think that's a good thing.
It's a cheaper system that gives high quality video. It's a phenomenal system. If you can afford it, get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be an expensive system.
No.
You know.
No, not at all.
And at least you know what's coming and going out of your front door. You
Yes.
know.
Yep.
That's a good thing.
Plus, when your Amazon packages arrive, you know when they're coming.
I know who took mine. So what is the future of the Marine City Police Department?
You know, right now we just got through budget time. We've got policies that are still being, you know, they're all done, set. You know, we've got training through those. We call them daily training bulletins. That guys, when they come in, they get trained on their policies. Department meeting coming up on May 12th. We'll get the guys first aid, CPR, and AED certified. You know, that's supposed to be every 2 years, so we're due for a retrain on that. With the budget that hopefully gets approved, I'll have an opening for a full-timer.
Nice.
So I'm gonna have to start that process on getting applications and such, and maybe one of my guys internally that wants that. I don't know yet. So
Yeah.
for the most part, that's about it. I can only live my life through July with kid coming back from college and a sophomore kid who plays baseball all over the place. I try to do 1 week at a time. So yeah.
Yeah, because you're human.
In my mind, I'm booked till just about July 4th. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming in and talking.
I appreciate you having me. This is a nice setting, and hopefully I put out a good message. And
Yeah.
like
Now
I said,
more than ever.
now more than ever, if people need anything whatsoever, you're a city resident, call us, and we'll
Right.
do whatever we can to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, let's not forget serve and protect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And please, you know, we've said this numerous times, you know, we have to go back to being the Mrs. Botinis of the neighborhood. You know, there is nothing wrong with questioning people that are
Nope.
walking up and down the street. Can I
Nope.
help you?
Nope.
You know, whatever, because that's That's how people know that we're watching.
I would like to meet Mrs. Bottini.
Mrs. Bottini was a cool lady. All right, my name is Cheryl Vercammen, and I'm the Mayor of Marine City, and this was another edition of the Mayor Minute on our Local Government Today series. Thank you for watching.